everyone, welcome back to my backyard snack yard. We've just passed the middle of January and my fingers are itching to get sowing again and get started on the gardening year. And I know I have a few pepper seeds in my cupboard waiting to be sowed. I want to get them onto the windowsill this weekend and get them started because they take forever to get ready to fruit. And I am overwintering quite a few chili peppers, but no bell peppers and no sweet peppers, and it's always fun to get a few in the mix. So that's something to look forward to. But before I do that, I just wanted to show you something I'm really excited about. I, of course, love growing herbs as well as everything else. And some of the herbs I find best to grow are not even herbs, they're actually trees that have edible foliage, because they are such space savers, especially if they also produce fruits as well. You can pretty much eat all parts of the trees. Things like mulberries, they have, of course, the beautiful mulberries themselves, but the leaves are also edible. And then you've got grapevines. This year I really want to cook with my grapevines because I have a beautiful vine out there that produces strawberry grapes. They taste like strawberries and they smell a bit like strawberries too. They have this wonderful strawberry scent, super sweet. I first tasted them in France and then managed to find a vine here. It's absolutely gorgeous. It fruited for me the first year, but last year, which was second year, we got no grapes at all. So I'm hoping for great things this year. And I also want to cook with the actual grape leaves too, because they are edible as well. There are other things too, like the goji berries. I have a few goji berries plants out in the garden because I've been propagating them. So I've planted them in other places as well as the pot I originally planted them in. And while it has never fruited for me, I am able to eat the leaves, and I always add them to salads because they're super full of nutrients too. They're like really nutrition powerhouses. So it's lovely to be able to take advantage of plants that also grow really tall and don't take up a lot of space because they're growing upright rather than just spreading and sprawling. Like if you plant a cucumber, it just takes over the garden. So really fun to have these kind of plants. And the one I want to show you today is very special in many ways. I've got it growing here in my little mini greenhouse. It's actually indoors. And let's just take the two of them. Let's take them both out. This one is not one of them. Just move things around a little bit. Here is one of them. Look how little, he's a little seedling, but a very exciting one. So here are the two of them. I bought two because I wanted to make sure I could keep them alive. And also, they're so tiny that it's quite fun to see how they're going to do and how big they'll become. And at the moment, they don't take up too much space. But if they really start growing, which they should do, then I might be able to give one away. That's my plan anyhow. But these ones are called Toona Sinensis. I've been spraying them with, like, misting them with water, rainwater, to make sure they stay moist in there. They are supposed to be really hardy, down to, what does it say here? I think it says -15, or yes, -15. But the thing is, I mean, they're just so young, and we've had like almost freezing temperatures out there. And also we have some slugs that I just can't get rid of in the greenhouse. And they like to eat little tiny seedlings like this. So I wanted to keep it nice and safe in the house, in my makeshift greenhouse, which I can keep nice and hydrated and moist in there. Give it a good moist environment. So it should be okay. Both of them should be. But yeah, the thing about the Toona Sinensis is they have lots of different names. They are known by lots of different names, I should say. So I think the actual name of them is Toona Sinensis. They're also known as the Fragrant spring tree and the beef and onion tree. More about that later. They're also known as the hardy mahogany, or the Chinese mahogany, or the Chinese cigar box timber or cedar, because they used to be cut down to make cigar boxes. Maybe they still are. I'm actually not sure about that. And they're also known as the Chinese Toon. So the whole reason that they're called a beef and onion tree is because the leaves themselves are said to taste like beef. In fact, I've written down a few things about them. So the leaves are said, depending on who you ask, they have been said to have a few different flavors to them. But I've watched a few videos now doing my research when I was deciding whether or not to add them to my food forest snack yard. And people say that the flavor they have is a very, what they call umami flavor. So like a sort of delicious savory taste, which is pretty meaty and brothy. Some people say it tastes like Marmite, and that sounds really good to me because I love things like Bovril, which is another sort of that kind of paste. There's also people that say it tastes like roast dinner, and some say it tastes like gravy, which will be a big hit. My son, my youngest son, he loves gravy with everything. So funny. And other people say it tastes like beef and onion crisps, which I suppose just means it tastes like beef and onion, because beef and onion crisps taste like beef and onion. And also, some people even call it the noodle soup tree, because the leaves are supposed to taste like noodle soup, sort of like ramen kind of flavor. So really, really, really interesting. Really something I can't wait to taste. They have like a small window where you can harvest them. You're meant to harvest them when they're quite young. So between mid-March and mid-May should be a perfect time to harvest the actual leaves. And one thing I also read an article about was that the leaves themselves contain nitrates. The amount of nitrates in the leaves increase as the leaves grow, so you want to pick them while they're still very young and tender. And they say that the best way to get rid of any nitrates in there is to blanch the leaves for 80 seconds. And that sort of dilutes the nitrate to a safe level. But the thing is, these leaves are also full of proper nutrition too. So it's not like it's a dangerous thing to taste. It's just to be mindful of the fact that they do have some amounts of nitrates in the leaves, like lots of other leaves do too. So it's not something to be worried about, I don't think, but it's nice to know these things. And of course, if you're going to be trying to harvest these kind of leaves or grow them, it's always good to do as much research as possible, I think. But yeah, these guys are very, very small, so it's going to be ages before I can finally harvest them. I imagine a few years at least. But we'll see how fast they grow. It's going to be really fun to try. And yeah, I can't wait to taste them. They're supposed to be reasonably hardy, but are very susceptible to spring frosts. I think because they start shooting out leaves so early. Our last frost date here in the UK is mid-May, so the end of May. And so if we're harvesting these leaves from mid-March to mid-May, that's really within that time when the frost still can come. So I can see why they would be susceptible to a late frost, to spring frosts even. Yeah, and it also says that they require warm and sheltered positions when young. So I'm pleased I'm keeping them inside because that's as warm and as sheltered as they can get. Yeah, and they're deciduous, as you can see, no leaves on them right now. And they can actually grow very bushy because they spread via saplings from the roots. They can also grow quite well in pots, so I'm going to be growing mine in pots for the time being. As my garden evolves and things get chopped down and things die, maybe I'll find a space for one or two of them. We'll see, but at the moment I want to keep them in pots just to keep them safe as well from slugs and other things too. And they're actually super hardy, as I said. They're hardy to USDA zone 5, so I'm not really sure. I think we're in like something like zone 8 or 7 or something, depending on. The thing is, it's difficult because we don't get super duper cold winters most of the time, but we just don't get very, very hot summers either, so yeah, not ideal. And also, interestingly enough, they are native to Asia. I think it says here that they come from a really, really large portion of land, so they're quite popular down there in Asia, I think. They're definitely the kind of things that you can sometimes find in Asian food shops. And I've even seen them in little glass jars which just says Toona Sinensis on them. I never really knew what that was, but it does remind me of that. So interesting, you can actually buy them as a proper vegetable. So just a really exciting thing to try. I can't imagine how it would be to taste a leaf that tastes of beef, but all the videos I saw, it really was the case. They really had that flavor. I even saw this one chef use the leaves themselves to make vegetarian burgers. And he used the leaves as the beef flavoring, and they looked really good, and he said they tasted really good. I think he was a really good chef, but it did look amazing, so I'm not sure if I'm going to use them for that. What I'm looking forward to doing is adding them to miso soup, because there's one guy I watch called Weird Explorer. I always love watching his videos because he does really good tastings, and you can just really tell what the fruits and vegetables that he tries will taste like. It's just amazing. So I can highly recommend him. But he tried putting them in some miso soup, and I would so love to try that. So much to look forward to. I'll definitely do some updates as these little trees grow, and hopefully they'll do well. And I'm definitely going to keep them in my little mini greenhouse here. And actually it says that they were in pretty shaded positions from the nursery where they came from. So I'm going to keep them out of direct sunlight, which is not difficult in the house because it's pretty dark in here. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this interesting. If you are growing Toona Sinensis or you've tried them, just please let me know what you think of them. And if you do think they taste like beef, I can only imagine they do because they are really known as the beef and onion tree. So can't wait to try them. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.